everybody, welcome back to Info Talk, where information, notification, formation, and orientation are all right here on today's topic, gaming. We're going to go through every single little detail from the community, what gaming stands for even now, and what was its past. And so, we have today, as your host, I have a guest here, aka Ignite, aka Alan. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, as a casual gamer compared to me as a competitive one, how much time do you think you spend on a normal day on like video games?
Occasionally I'll go a little 2 hours. I'm not that crazy into considering myself a gamer. I just play every once in a while. But yeah, I mean, I'm just very like passive with it. I don't really do much time on it. And
would you say that this is like 2 to 3, 4 hours, like a good amount of time, or like a pretty standard amount of time for like most people who play games or so?
Oh yeah, definitely. I know there's a lot of hardcore people though, who will do like all-nighters and
like play for extremely long times.
Extremely long, yeah.
So, what is gaming exactly? Most recently, gaming has been labeled as... Well, actually, you know what? Let's start from the beginning. Gaming has always been some kind of sense of entertainment or some kind of outsource of fun, other than, of course, being outside and being a kid and whatever. It gave not only parents, but children, mainly children for a short period, for like I think a good amount of time, another source of fun and to enjoy. And of course, even at the early times of those days, there were people who got really good at the games, or even kind of wanted to push themselves to be really good at the games themselves. But of course, with this huge amount of like public liking, a lot of people were going to look into it. And of course, during most recent times before the pandemic, gaming was labeled as somewhat extremely violent. It caused violence in children, and that it wasn't exactly a good, healthy look on children or in people who played it. And I just want to know, all just misconceptions, or are these like labels that were just out there for the media just to throw it on there and just gave gaming a bad name? What do you think?
No, I don't think gaming is like violent or can cause someone to be violent. I think if a parent doesn't want a kid playing a rated M game, they should monitor them and at least take the time to like watch what their kid is playing before like either buying the game or lending them the money to purchase it. So I think at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that it's all up to the parents. If they don't want their kids being violent, or considering that gaming is violent and they don't want to introduce it to them, then they shouldn't allow them to play such games, you know?
As an honest answer that is, and as much common sense is put into that, there are still people who say that they can't really do that, or it's like it shouldn't exist at all for this reason. I don't honestly agree with it whatsoever. I don't think that any reason should be they should remove games, or it's like I don't think it causes violence whatsoever, because there's plenty of people like us and then who don't really just go out there and be violent.
Right.
The thing about the community of gaming, there could be actually a lot of people that you could meet online, and even just random people. From my experience, I've actually met a lot of people just randomly when just turning on the mic and listening to what they have to say. There's a lot of people who are just really calm, or just maybe just want to talk to each other for a little bit, or simply just wants to play the game and have like almost no like violence or like aggressiveness towards each other whatsoever. Actually, I honestly think that video games provide a lot more a lot of team building, maybe even a little bit of leadership here and there at that time, depending on what you're playing, of course. But I honestly think, yeah, it's really up to the parent, but at some point in a child's life, they're eventually going to get to see violence. So it's like you can't really stop it. But I think gaming doesn't. It does. Some games have violence, but of course there's the rating system, like you mentioned, that's placed on there. It's there labeled for that reason. That's why it's been put there. There's PG-13. There's teen rated, and then rated M for mature. All these labeling systems that for parents to actually see that this is what your kids are going to be exposed to for a short period, or for the time that they're going to be playing the game. And even if it is rated something like really high, sometimes some games aren't actually as bad as they look, honestly. In some clips that I will show you here on screen, there are games that are just simple cartoon fun that are rated T for teens. The game here I'm showing you right now, Transformers Devastation. Now this is a game based on the original cartoon series, which a lot of kids were exposed back into the 1990s. This is when it was really popular. A lot of people liked it, and of course fans eventually came back to it, whether they were old or young or new. And yet, though it's like all cartoons based, it's still rated T for teens. And this is my point exactly. It's not really that bad. It's not as bad as it looks. And you got to just look at it once. A lot of parents, I've heard from other viewers that we've asked around, and of course, I'm sure you, Alan, you had this situation. A parent looks at the game and they're really confused because there's all kinds of flashing lights and colors and things happening right there and then. They have no idea what's going on because they've never played it. They've never picked up the controller themselves and tried it. But it's like the player ourselves who pick up the controller, play it all the way through, and we see it's like it's not as bad as it sounds. Yeah, there's games and gore like Doom that have like a bunch of violence and stuff like that, but a lot of the time it's pretty obvious, especially from, even if you were just to judge it from the cover, you can tell it's like, okay, is this going to be violent? Is it not? And of course, a lot of games have series that the violence just keeps going and going and going. I think you should eventually notice the trend. But enough about the rating system. Let's move on to something else. What is gaming exactly? In my personal definition, it could be considered anything that's on screen, that requires pixels, a controller in hand in order to play it itself, and it has to be played on some kind of screen. It could be VR or something like that. That's what I think it is. In your case, Alan, what do you think? Is there another set of definitions or another version that you can think of when it comes to gaming?
I agree with you. It has to be like some kind of visual interpretation. Like there has to be something that you're looking at in order to be considered a video game. But I also think it's like a big stress reliever for most people. A lot of people, they come home from work after a long day and
so like the benefits of it. So yeah, let's get into that. Exactly. So it's like people see games as violence, as just something to play after school, but gaming can be more than that, clearly. As he stated just now, that it can be something of a stress reliever. And with all these misconceptions of people saying, oh, it causes violence in children, there is no proof of that. Honestly, I've looked through a few things, and it's just a lot of opinionated things and no actual proof. But there is research and data on that video games were actually helpful on a lot of different statements and journals and a lot of newsletters, saying that gaming actually supports you in several different functions, not only in the brain, physically, as well as mentally. But yet people still think like it has nothing to do with the regular world that people live in. Other than boredom and of course, just a stress reliever, what benefits do you think you can come up with that apply to gaming whenever somebody's playing it?
I mean, there's just a lot of different aspects pertaining, consoles and video games themselves. A lot of people, a lot of families like to use Netflix and all the other like different aspects regarding their console or whatever they have. Like it's not only just meant to be played for violence or video games, it could also be used for other different types of reasons, which is like, I don't know, I guess very beneficial for most families who just want to sit back and have like a nice, I don't know, movie night.
It could be like a good family night, a game night. Other than just simple fun, there's some of the research. Let me point some of these out. I'm not going to state where I got them from because I'm not labeling anything specific. There has been data and evidence shown that gaming actually improves, specifically in the mind. It improves a little bit of awareness. It also improves a bit of your ability to think. It's supposed to gaming apparently. How do I put it? Heavily allows you to use the right side of your brain, so you can think more. Think clearly. Yeah, think creatively, of course. And in your eyes, do you believe this? That you've become a little bit more creative, or you've thought up a few more things here and there?
Definitely. I also found that I've been more like, my hand-eye coordination definitely just dramatically improved after time playing video games. Yeah, I mean, it's a great source of like creative juices flowing, I guess.
Just like your splash your creativity everywhere. Is that where you're trying to get? Yeah. Games like there are games out there like Minecraft, which has been a huge outlet across multiple different platforms for just people to build and be creative. Here are a few clips of my own things that I've just done on my free time for hours on end for no reason, just because, like, why not? But would you say that you've gained some kind of also smarts? You think you've got because of the games over the time you've been playing it from a child to even now?
Yeah, I think you learn, like, for example, if you're not really a big like sports fan or whatever, and then let's say you're introduced to like a game like FIFA or NBA 2K or something like that, you'll understand the rules more, you'll know more or less what's happening. So I think it really helps you intellectually.
Now, the games themselves aren't really bad, and a lot of people put their time and effort, and there's whole entire companies who make several different games and publish them, all this. I feel like we shouldn't just diss them and just throw out all their hard work and effort on these games just because they're a little violent, or there's a little violence in them, which of course has clearly been able to be avoided if necessary. But in games like, let's say, Rainbow Six Siege or COD, there is a somewhat competitive aspect to it, where players work together, whether alone or just in teams if they want to. There's a sense of friendship and bonds that are created through these games that can be just as strong as even brotherhood. And on my personal experience, I've made so many friends on here. I have almost over 200 friends on my friends list alone, of people who I've met, played with, and I even have several specific groups that I play with on certain games, just for fun, or if I just want to hang out with some of my friends from school and other, like, across the world, whether they've moved away and still have complete and total access. That is the benefit of playing video games. It's an online process. You get to do things that you don't normally do on a normal day, and you can do almost literally anything in games, as like, other than of course, there are realistic ones. To be fair, there are realistic ones like sports games like FIFA, Madden, which is like the NFL. There's even golf. For God's sakes, there's fishing. Yes, I have footage of fishing. Enjoy the fishing clips here for the next like 30 minutes. But I don't see any, like, in those kind of games, I don't see that kind of violence. It's fishing. What kind of violence is there? You're learning how to fish. He literally teaches you how to fish from the start and grow and work your way up to even more competitive level. And even if you just want to do simple fishing for just whatever reason at that time, you can do that. You can fish for hours on end and catch all kinds of different species in fish. Some of these games have so much information and data in them that even some of the information and data is actually factual and like really accurate, to the point where you can study and learn history, even learn certain like skills. There are plenty of simulators out there. Like, there's farming, of course. There's already the fishing simulator that I'm showing you now. There's even a truck driving simulator where you get to drive across the whole entire country. You could play. There's multiple different versions, and each version continues to be more and more advanced and more accurate. Have you ever tried any one of these simulators for yourself, Alan? How accurate would you, if you have, what do you think? How accurate do you think they are? Or how accurate are they to like real life things, if you've ever tried one?
I've never tried one, to be honest, but I do believe, like, I've seen gameplay or footage of it, and I could see that it's exactly like how real life is in certain situations, and it could help you learn something that you didn't know before.
Like skills, and even learn how to do it yourself? Like,
exactly.
I mean, it's called a simulator for a reason, but it's like, it's crazy how accurate it can be at times.
True.
And in this case, I see something that it's something you can learn. It's not a bad thing, it's a great thing. Again, it's been labeled terribly. Oh, thank you for dropping down that. I really do appreciate that. Running me for my money, huh? This is what I get for bringing him onto the show. I swear I didn't kidnap this man and bring him on here for no reason.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Yeah. So, and like this, even a moment like this, we're playing a game right now and we're having honest fun. We're having a relaxed moment. We're playing a board game, for God's sakes. A board game that you usually sit down and people in front of you. And it's like, in this time of a pandemic, it's like, since you can't really do that all the time, this is a perfect way to do it. You can connect with specific people and chat with them and have a full-on, blow-on conversation and be perfectly fine. I mean, as much as I never thought I would see myself playing Monopoly on an advanced console and system with friends, it's really helped in this time. How am I ever going to pay for this? In this time of crisis. Speaking of this time of crisis, have you ever noticed, Alan, in this recent time, gaming has had major like events happen, as well as its popularity gone like skyrocket?
Oh yeah, definitely. Game that I know you're not a big fan of, but I enjoy playing it. Fortnite. It's been pretty big. You've got celebrities and so many influencers to have their own events and make something special for the entire community, not just like specific people. No, this is for everyone to enjoy.
Speaking of Fortnite, I've heard they've had like events as big as like giant concerts with thousands and millions of players watching it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's impressive for a game that is completely free, by the way, on like most consoles that you can find.
Rated E for everyone too.
Yeah, rated E for everyone. Rated E. I'm gonna make a joke here. Rated E, but it's got guns in it. Again, another proof and point that you can't just judge it by. You can judge it, but sometimes the rating isn't always everything. You gotta try it out for yourself. But back to what he was saying. They had a giant concert. Can you name a few? As you seem to be an expert in it.
Travis Scott, that was the biggest one recently. They've also had Marshmello, the DJ perform. It was incredible.
They have that's what makes gaming amazing. You have these giant events that are like makeshift concerts that you can go for free without having to pay no ticket, having to go anywhere near people and risk your life or anything like that. We get the opportunities to do such amazing things like that for simply no effort at all, for free. I heard a bunch of people literally didn't play the game itself, but literally waited for hours just so they can just see the concert alone. Is that true? And with these events, this is not just like a one and done thing. This can happen from like all kinds of different. This happens on like multiple different sets of games. Almost every single game has some kind of event or some kind of like kind of grand thing that the whole entire gaming community joins up for and just like participates in. Whether they earn rewards or even just simply just being a cosmetic, just being something that they can watch and enjoy. Can you say that it was definitely were people really excited? Were they like really hyped up for it and wanting to go visit and like see it?
Most definitely. For the Marshmello one, everyone was excited. For the Travis Scott one, even more excited because he introduced a new single that he was gonna drop, and it was exclusive for Fortnite. You know, like only Fortnite people who went to that concert got a sneak peek of what that song was gonna sound like. So it goes crazy, and it was awesome because it's cool to see that even in tough times like this, we still have people going out of their way to
take the time to go do that and like make things happen like that. Yeah,
exactly. So everyone can participate and have a good time and a good laugh with their friends, their family, you know, whoever they had playing with them at the time. So I thought that was really cool for Fortnite.
So like you see, this is what I'm talking about. Like gaming can be a window to so many different things. And another thing that people are they misconceive about gaming is that you can't make any money off of it. That's honestly that's a straight up like lie completely. There are so many opportunities. There's whole entire companies built off of video games specifically. And then there's all kinds of individual jobs specifically tailored for the games, like digital artists, even just simple drawing artists, to people who actually go play the game before it's released, that are called QA, which is also quality assurance, if anybody wants to know. That they play the game before it's released to make sure that everything's running well, everything seems fine, that everything's working perfectly before it's put onto the shelves. So much time and effort is put into these games before they're even released, or even these systems that you use to play them. There's so much effort and time put into them. It's honestly insulting to say that games aren't really anything special. They don't really do much, or they're just violent. I completely say that's wrong, because there's so many creative outlets and ways to make money. There's people out there using it as some kind of a career that they're doing almost full time as like streamers, content creators. It's the same thing as like television when it comes to a streamer. It's another version of television or entertainment that they can watch, built off of specifically what gaming offers. And I don't think some people realize how much money these guys make. A quality assurance, a guy who literally sits there and plays the game and says, yeah, this is working, or there's something wrong with this, or I don't like this, or I do, can earn up to $34,000 to $50,000 a year. That's a pretty good paycheck if you say Like, I'm not getting paid much for doing this. But I think that is pretty good. For a day job of just sitting down and holding a controller and playing. It's that simple. And answering a quick little survey.
Crazy.
But of course, it's not all about the game. The game is great. Alright, system's great. Alright, it opens outlets, it gives jobs, it shows a good time to people in many different ways. But the question is, the game isn't anything without the player. So let's talk about the community. What kind of people have you met online while playing games, or like simply just turning on your mic and chatting with them? Would you say they're kind of like creative, quiet? Are they shy? Are they really aggressive? Are they loud? What is the community like?
A lot of outgoing people. A lot loud. Very, I guess, spontaneous.
Would you say they're kind of like interesting all around? It's like, I would assume, since it's like a worldwide thing, I would expect it to be like, there's all kinds of nationalities and like personalities you meet on a normal day. And like all kinds of like different lifestyles.
Totally. Yeah, everyone has a different story, and it's cool to get to know someone just from playing a game with them. They could live across half of the world away from you and to still play with you. It's insane.
Do you have some friends that are like across the world, or people you haven't like met in person, but you made such a bond as like some kind of friendship?
Oh yeah, there's a good amount of people, but if, for example, literally this one, you're in Houston right now, and I'm in Eagle Pass. It's crazy how we can just keep in touch from such a far distance.
For anybody confused, that's like at least 3 or 4 hours away from my position to his. Just anybody confused. But even something as, whether it be short or long distance, it's like the amount of people you would meet and the amount of people you can play with is endless. But I find that, in my personal experience, again, the community can be really not only inspiring, because let's take Minecraft for example again. If you went online and you like people building stuff, you can almost literally find anything out there you can think of. You just name something and put Minecraft next to it, or like, and you will find so much of different things. We have people building whole entire cities that they spent days on. That's insane. And they built it brick by brick, perfectly accurate. Like, some of it can be even like what's it called? To scale. Like, perfectly to scale. Which I think is honestly scary, because that takes time and dedication, and you don't find that a lot. I mean, with all the time that they have, I mean, yeah, you don't have really much else to put it into, but to put it into that is just amazing. You know what I'm talking about, Alan? I'm sure you've seen something just as creative as that, or probably even better.
Totally.
If anything, I find that sometimes even the community can be extremely loving, as a lot of the community can be really decisive and loving towards a certain thing or person, especially that who else plays like video games, to the point where they support them on like a daily basis. Like, again, streamers, they play a huge part in the gaming community because they play games that are really popular out, and they give the first great impression and tell everybody, hey, go play this game, come check it out, here's a little footage. Video game is its own market, its own little thing, and yet people diss on it, but they also don't understand it, what it could possibly be, and like what's going on in between. If anybody was paying attention recently to the stocks and market, yes, it partakes in it as well. A very popular store called GameStop recently had a huge share price rise.
Yeah,
that
blew up.
It absolutely blew up. The whole entire gaming community knew about it completely. Everyone literally said, team up, let's put some money down into it. Some people became millionaires off of that. And of course, eventually the economic people who are the 1% eventually took control and stopped people from doing that. But to think, simply a gaming store, a store that sells video games and equipment, made people millionaires. I find that insane. So we see here now is that video games, they provide jobs. It provides people a sort of entertainment for almost all ages. But what else can you do in it? I said that it's almost limitless what you can do. I'm going to show you some footage of what you can do. You can play some of the games that represent some of your oldest shows. Like I said earlier, Transformers. There's a game for it. They have several games. There's even other games that are historically accurate to World War II. I have some footage of Battlefield 5 and Iwo Jima. Yeah, there's violence in it, but that's World War II. That's all. It was all violence. People lived through that, and you get to see what it was like, how the struggle. And some people even reenact it themselves so accurately that you feel like you were a part of it yourself, so you can fully understand what they went through. There's a whole entire sections for each individual's type of game. From RPGs, MMOs, racing games, sports games. I have some racing game footage here of Need for Speed, Payback. You can drive any type of car you can think of in almost any style, whether that be specifically drift racing, street racing, even off-road racing. You even run away from the cops in the game. Honestly, I think I would rather you run away from the cops in-game rather than do it on the streets real life. And there are some games out there that are completely non-violent whatsoever. I don't see any violence in Minecraft. I don't see any violence in Slime Rancher. For anybody who doesn't know what the heck that is. Everything that in that title is literally what it stands for. It's a rancher who are slimes. They're these little cute little blobs that you put in corrals, feed them, take whatever they end up leaving behind and selling it on a market. That teaches you how to be a rancher. I don't see no violence there. That teaches you how to take care of your animals, take care of resources, and manage the market. They have a whole entire market that goes up and down in prices on certain things that you sell. My point again, that shows you not only the simulation on simply on how to be a rancher, how to take care of animals, how to manage the market. This is expressing so many different parts of your brain, and yet it's not violent.
Sometimes you have to pay the price.
But you also got to think that these games have huge people of amount of fans. Let's come back to Ala here for a minute. How many people did you think at the peak of Fortnite were playing?
It's your turn.
Easily, probably, I don't know, I'd say at least 100 million.
100 million alone in its time when it was popular. Again, this is a free game. Who had famous artists come do whole entire concerts for free, with even special access to songs that they haven't even written yet, or not written. They haven't even showed to the public. That's insane. These games express not only creativity, increase your smarts, allow you to do almost anything you want. You want to become a god wielding thunder? You can do that. You want to become a literal living sun? You can do it. You want to become Captain America and disintegrate your enemies? Go right ahead. You can do all of that in Destiny 2. I'm showing you footage of every single ability. You could do all these things. It's these abilities and powers and things that you could do in game. You can't do this in real life. This is all make believe. But yet you live it, and it looks so. Honestly, Alan, whenever you play a game like that and you have so much power, can you feel it? Can you say that you like?
Oh yeah, you get lost, you know. It's so fun, entertaining, just like basically gives you a way out of reality.
It's an escape to reality, to a world where you can do whatever you want, live how you want, and have almost any kind of power. And a lot of these games, if I'm not wrong here, a lot of the time when you get this kind of power, you play for the good guys. You play for the right reasons. In Destiny 2, you're busy fighting off evil that will invade the home of humanity, and you're the last line of defense. That's why you have these powers. You're not just wielding these powers willy-nilly and just tossing it whatever. You're humanity's last and final stand. In Titanfall 2, you are literally playing a pilot who is trying to fight a war as a rebellion from a group of people who would honestly enslave you. That's violence for a good reason. It shows you to be courageous and be somewhat caring towards the characters. Some of these games, you grow attached to some of the characters. Can you honestly agree, Alan? Have you had a character? Can you name one that you've grown like extremely emotionally attached, that you're sad whenever if they ever were to die or just like disappear from the game?
Probably Kratos from God of War. Teaches you a lot. I think it was really cool. Inspires, you know, to go out there and be brave.
He didn't Kratos originally. He most recently became a father and took care. He takes care of his son and teaches him, doesn't he? In the most recent game.
Mhm.
It's your turn.
He shows him how to hunt. The man he is.
Teaches him how to correctly be a man, and just like be smart about with the power that he has. I don't find
that teaches Greek mythology, so
that's true.
Really
though some of it may not be historically correctly accurate, but it does teach you some of it, some kind of like general things. Aspects. That's what I'm thinking of. But there are other games that are far more accurate to history. Assassin's Creed. There are so many historical facts and like details in that game, and the game's open world. So you can walk around and look through whole entire sections of cities all you want. And these things have different timelines as well. Assassin's Creed has been through multiple different timelines, whether it be the Civil War, in the middle of Pirate Age, in even modern day. Their newest game, it's during the Viking times. There's so many benefits to what gaming can do. And I hope during this podcast that we change your mind on what you should think about what gaming is. There are so many options, so many things that you could do that you couldn't do in real life. Especially nowadays, since you can't really like just go everywhere you want with as many people as you'd like. And what about the kids games like Lego? There are millions of kids who would love those series of like type of games. Have you ever played one, Alan? Tell me, is it really that bad? Is it that dangerous for kids to go around and play a Lego game?
No, definitely not.
Honestly, I think some Lego games are honestly pretty cool. Like some of them, I could actually honestly play all the way through and be fine with it.
Yeah, totally entertaining, for sure.
Tell me, when was the last time you got to fly a real life, modern day jet? Wherever you wanted to. Go ahead, tell me. If you're not in the military or the Air Force and you're just like flying these planes on a normal day, I promise you, nobody else is getting access to these planes and just flying them around because, like, why not? I doubt it. I honestly doubt it. That you had the experience to fly a plane like that. Let me show you some footage. Because you can take this plane, and this is an F-22 Raptor, which is like almost, what was it? Like almost $10 million? That's a $10 million jet. One of our most modern jets of our time. And you can fly that in the Alps all you want. Of course, racing games, you can drive in Los Angeles, Los Santos. There's games out there that you can build cities and manage them. The only people who do that are states and mayors. You get to build every little aspect of that city, whether it be natural disasters, or you have a power failure, or something goes wrong. You handle and manage everything. There are multiple different simulation games like that, from cities to even theme parks. As dangerous as that may sound, just to let some kid have the power to build whatever kind of roller coaster they want, it's okay. They're not going to be the ones riding it. You get to fight off zombies. As much as zombies is not a real thing in real life, hope to God that we never have to deal with that. But that's violence that doesn't exist in our world. That they can't recreate, they can't just do. Okay. So it's like, I don't see really such a bad thing. It's basically all pretend. It's like they're just playing outside with some of their friends and just having fun and pretending things. Honestly, like we said earlier in the podcast, it's a way to de-stress. It's a place where you can release your anger or your stress by playing a game. And do whatever you want with your friends. You don't have to imagine it anymore. You get to do it for real. I'll name some games that honestly, that like what you can do in them, that honestly you can never do in real life.
Oh man, there's a ton. I mean, almost every single game.
Of course, the simulation games are based to they're based around real life, but there are all these games you get to do all kinds of different things. Like what was it? For Honor, you get, or any kind of medieval kind of like warrior of their time. And you said GTA, right?
Yeah.
I know that GTA is being considered to be a bad game because it has nudity, drugs, and all kinds of things. Of course, but of course they warn you ahead of time directly. And even the employees at like certain stores that are like, no, it should be every store actually. It's actually every store that sells that game warn you. Hey, all this stuff is going to be in here. Are you sure you want to? And that, even for that game, it has sensors. It has sensors. Some you can't turn off. Some you can turn on and off anytime you want.
Your time has come.
But the thing is, you actually, in that game, is actually kind of helpful because it teaches you how to manage your money. There are players in that game that have millions of dollars and never lose that much money. Where they have nightclubs, they own giant business towers, they own a whole entire, they own like 30, 40 cars that are worth millions of dollars. And yet they are managing and capable of handling their money in such a way that they almost never have to worry about it. What is another place where you can go tame a dinosaur? I don't know no place on planet Earth where a dinosaur exists. If you do, please let me know. Because in Ark, you can tame a whole entire T-Rex. Who doesn't want a T-Rex? Please excuse the vehicle outside. I hope we've made our point, honestly. And I'll allow you guys to finish up the recording with a little bit of Uno, in case you guys got bored of watching Monopoly. But gaming has been misconceived. It's a great thing. The community is amazing. And I hope, and most likely in the future, especially since gaming is on the rise right now, because everyone has so much time on their hands that they don't know what to do with it. And so now they're going to gaming, and now their perspective is changing. I mean, as much as I don't really see a lot of adults on here, I'm sure some adults have gone back to some of maybe the older consoles, like maybe DS, Wii, or ones that they are kind of accustomed to, or more like family based, or have like more family games. You never have to be restricted towards just violent games or kid-friendly games. That's why there's whole entire sections for what you want. So, I really do hope that we manage to change your mind. I thank you for listening to the podcast. You can download it on YouTube if you have YouTube Premium, if you would like. I would like to thank Alan for being our guest here today. Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, no problem.
And that would be all for today. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your night.